Hello everyone, welcome to part 4 from our complete AutoCAD training. In part 4, we're gonna learn how to draw 2D isometric drawing. In part 1, we've talked about the drawing tools, how to draw lines, circles, polygons, and all the drawing tools. Also, we had some practices in the description. In part 2, modified tools and layers. Also, we've learned about how to use the modifying tools and how to create layers, how to assign colors and line types. Part 3, we've talked about annotation and viewports. We've learned how to create dimensions, how to create annotations, text, and how to print out in the layout view. In this part 4, we will talk about isometric drawings. We're going to create isometric drawings and switch between isoplanes, how to draw isocircles in the ellipses, place dimensions on the isoplanes, and edit dimensions using oblique option. In the isodraft command that you will see today, we need to turn it on in order to draw 2D isometric. And as you see here on the top, we have the isodraft command, so it should be on, and I will show you on AutoCAD how to draw and how to toggle between the isoplane left, top, and right. With the right isoplane, it aligns snap and grid along with 30 and 90 degrees on the axis. Also, the left align them with 90, 150 degrees on the axis, and the top align them between 30 and 190 degrees on the axis. We can toggle between the isoplanes left, top, and right by clicking on them or by pressing Ctrl E or F5 button. So just keep in mind that either way will work just to navigate between the isoplanes. To insert the dimensions, we need to use dim edit to change the oblique. I will show today how to change the oblique of the text. Also, it's recommended to know that it is between 30 and negative 30. So it's keeping it in mind. Plus 30, minus 30, this is the degrees that we are using. Also, I will show you how to set the degrees using the lines of the isometric. When you finish watching this video, you will be ready to watch the videos provided in the description section just to practice what we've learned today. The practices in this video taken from Discovering AutoCAD 2020 and the previous versions of the same book. So let's get started. In this exercise, we're gonna draw this cube. We're gonna create arc, as you see here. We're gonna create circles on the top, circles on the right. We're gonna give some depth here as we're gonna copy the circle just to make it visually going down. And we're gonna make it going to the right side to get some depth for the right isoplane. We will start with the home tab and let's see here what we have in the status bar. The first thing, as you see, I got the grid. It is still on, just to show you the grids. I'm not going to put the snap mode on, so I will leave it off this time. But in the practices, I used it. So if you are interested in using the snap mode, make sure to watch the practice in the description. Now I'm gonna leave the dynamic input on. I need to leave the polar tracking or F10, just make it on. Also, I need to set it for 30, 60, 90 degrees. So I get some direction while I'm using the isometric drawings. What else I need to do? I will get the object snap on and the object snap tracking. For the object snap, I need to make endpoint. Always remember that you can change that often while you are drawing. Also, you can make shift right click to override the object snap. So here's the endpoint, midpoint. I'm gonna get center, quadrant, intersection, and tangents. So this one the most likely that we use in the exercises. Now, what else we need to do? Let's get started. This is the isometric drafting. If for any reason you don't see any of these, make sure you click on the customization, and you will find it. For example, if you don't have the isometric drafting, so it's there, make sure you have the check next to that. So this is the isometric drafting. If I turn it off, it's not there anymore. So make sure you turn it on so you have it down. Now let's make that on. And as you see here, if you click this little arrow next, you have the isoplane left, top, and right. And as you see from this picture here, this is 2D isometric, and this is the right isoplane, this is the top, and this is the left. So if you are drawing on the right side, make sure you put it on the right, so the isoplane should be on the right. Let's start with the right. And as I mentioned before, you can make Control E, F5, or right. If it's not working, you might need to press the Fn button in your keyboard as well, along with the F5 or other keyboard. Now, let's make it isoplane right and see here, watch the grids aligning. Since we have the polar tracking on, we're ready to draw. So let's make line command, L enter, or just from the line. Pick any point. You can zoom in and out just to control the screen. Pick any point at this here. See, we have the tracking, since we have the polar tracking on, so we have some lines, the green dash lines. Let's make it 10. Okay, and let's go vertical. We are still using the dash line, the tracking lines, another 10. Give direction, type 10, and close. So we finished the right side. F5, or just go to the left side, toggle between the isoplane, another 10, give direction, 10, make sure you are using the dash line, the polar tracking, and the object snap. It's very important to pick the points. Like here we have intersection, you get endpoint, so make sure you're using the object snap correctly to pick the point. Again, let's move to the top. Object snap is on. Direction, using that green dash line, 10, close. Okay, so here we finished the cube. Now the second part here, that we need to draw the circles, and we have some circles on the right, top, and left. So let's start with the top. Okay, now to draw the circles, we need to go to ellipses and click on axis end. Okay, now as you see here, we do have different options. We need to make sure that we are clicking on ISO circle or I enter. So we need to make it ISO circle for all arcs, circles, fillet, anything that has arcs. You need to use ISO circle. Now specify the center. You use the object snap here with the tracking, object snap tracking on. So I got point, and this is the center. As I see here, I use object snap tracking, click the center. Now you need to, as you see on the command line, specify radius or diameter. If you need the diameter, you have to type D enter or click on the diameter here. Otherwise, you're taking the radius. Let's make here the radius, wherever I need the radius to be 5 if I need it a whole, or I can click on the endpoint. So I can type 5 or click. Now this is the first circle. I need to get another depth here, visually depth. So I need to go to copy this circle, enter. Now I can copy it from center and go down. Watch here that I'm still using the polar tracking, and this is vertical. Make sure you're using these green lines for the polar tracking, go vertical. And now I give it the depth that I want. Let's make it 1, okay, enter. Now escape for the rest. As you see here, I give it another circle. Let's trim cutting edges all. And again, if you are using 2021, so there is no need to do the cutting edges. You can start trimming. However, I'm trying to use other versions like 2020 and before, so you need to select all or determine the cutting edges at this point. Now I finished the top circle. Let's draw another circle on the right here and give it depth outside. F5 or Control E, or just toggle between this isoplane, and this is right. Now ellipses, axis, and use the object snap tracking to determine the center. When you find the center, left click. And as you mentioned here, so again, axis, iso circle, and here's the center. Okay, then you start typing. I'm gonna make this one the radius is 3, so you type 3. If you need it till the end, so you find the midpoint, or you just type the radius or the diameter, determining how big is the circle. We will use copy this circle, right, and hover over to get the center, give direction. Again, we have the polar tracking on. I need to make it 1, and since I went outside, so I'm getting dimension outside, then enter. Then you can escape or enter to end. As you see here, I got 2 circles. Now I need to trim the part here. So trim. Again, I can write it, just trim it with 2021. Otherwise, you need to make cutting edges, select all, hit enter, and trim. Now I need to draw a line on the top here. Make sure you have object snap on, and make sure you have a tangent and a quadrant. Let's draw a line, or L enter, pick the quadrant. You can zoom in, pick the intersection. Okay. Another enter to repeat the line command. Now we need to trim. Okay, so we trim the lines inside, and this way we give another circle, and this is the depth. Now let's draw here like a door with an arc on the top, line from the end point. You just give direction. I don't click at this point, I give dimension. Now if I need to go here to enter, so I pick that point, go up. Let's make it 3, enter. You go up how as much as you wanna. Then you go 6, enter, and make sure you're using vertical lines. Here you go. Now, if you need to stretch that, if it's small, you can move the line. And if you needed another 2, so you can feel free to use any of the tools that we've learned before. Now you can extend. Okay, you can extend. So actually you can use this modifying tools with the isometric. Now again, ellipses, axis end, isocircle, center. Here, what's wrong? What did we do wrong? That we need to change the isoplane, right? So here we need it to be left, as you see here. Then we do it. Let's trim. If you need to choose the cutting edges, that's fine. If not, so just go ahead and trim. So finish that part. We need to give depth. So let's make copy. I need to copy this part and this arc. From here, use the dashed line, and then we put 1, enter, enter. Let's trim, tr, enter, trim, okay. And we need to delete that line, okay. Now let's draw here a line from this point to this point and to the intersection. Using object snap is very important with isometric and other 2D drawings. So we finished that part. For now, be sure to save your drawing. So Control S to save it, navigate to the location and save your drawing in your desktop or other cloud storage. You might use 360 or other places in your computer. Now we need to type here 3 texts, right, top, and left. At this point, we need to make sure that we do have layers. I already defined some layers here. I put a layer for dimension and text. Also, it's always recommended to give a color for each layer. Now, I'm gonna make the text current. Okay, so now it is current. And I need to type the text. In this case, we need to go to annotate. I would use single text, single line. Be sure that we are on the correct isoplane. Let's start with the let's start with the right. So here I need to type. So specify rotation, the first point, then the rotation. So I'm gonna use enter, and then let's do that one more time. So annotate single line, start point. I'm gonna put the rotation 0 at this point. Now you put the text. Okay. Now for this, I need here to make some changes. Okay, I just need to show you how to make any changes to any text in your isometric. The first thing what I recommend is right click and get properties. Also, what you can do is Control-1 to get the properties. As you see here from the right, the style that I use is already defined as ISO 30, and I will show you how to define this. And what I need to do here, the obliquing is at 30, and you can change the rotation. At this point, I need the rotation to be 30 as well. Okay, so from here, you see the obliquing is 30, and the rotation is 30 for this text. Let's accept that and close. And if you need to move it to a different place, you can do this. To create a text style, you can go from annotate, click on this little arrow, manage text styles, or from this little arrow here and open. As you see here, what I did earlier, that I created ISO 30 and ISO negative 30. The ISO 30, I just changed the oblique here to 30, and the ISO negative 30, the oblique is 30. Also, you can set the height if you want to change it. You can make the height if you want to, for example, 1, so you can change the height. So this way, you can also create a new, if you create a new, and you give it a name, for example, ISO 30 or ISO minus 30 or any other styles, you can also create a new to use while you are using isometric or any other drawings. So I always recommend changing the text styles and creating more styles as you go. Also for each text style, you can change the font style and the font name here and the font style, so you can make it bold, italic, regular, whatever you want. In this case, I'm just making it regular and it is Arial. Okay. Now we do have the two that I created earlier, minus 30. I just changed the oblique to minus 30 and 30. Now let's see what that oblique is. Okay. Now I will make another style here, and this time I make it standard. So I'm not using any of the things that I created before to show you what the meaning of oblique. So let's make single line, and let's go to the top here, and let's start point, specify height. I'm gonna make the height here, rotation is 0, and here we're gonna make top. Okay, so as you see here, it doesn't align with the drawing. So what we need to do is Control 1 again, and the rotation, let's make the rotation here 30 degrees. And see here now the obliquing is 330, which is minus 30 actually, and it's aligned with the top. So let's make it the same. So you can make it minus 30, negative 30, or 330. This is the same thing over there. Okay. Now, if I make another one down here for the left, so again, let's move to the left side, single, single, and we are using the standard now, okay? So I'm gonna put rotation 0 and the text left, okay? Now, with this left here, you see it's not aligning. So I can Control 1, and I can change that to the style that here is standard. Let me see here if I put it 30. So see that it is a change. If I make it negative 30, so it's a change. So actually you need to choose which one of these. Also the rotation. If I need the rotation here to be 120, let's see how it goes. If you need the rotation to be 30, so this is the way you make the rotation for yours. So let's make that rotation as you go with there, minus 30. So make that as minus 30. Okay, so make sure you make this minus 30 to make it aligning with the surface. Also, the obliquing should be negative 30 or 330, which is the same actually, basically. Negative 30 is 330 degrees. Okay, so the style is, you can change the style from there. If you don't need to click on any of these styles, that's fine, but you still need to make some changes to the text using the obliquing and the rotation. So here's the two keys, obliquing angle and 30. Always you need to pick either 30 or minus 30. So that depends on the surface. So use plus 30 degrees if you are working on the left isoplane. Use minus 30 degrees if you're working on the right isoplane. And actually you need to try sometimes which one works best. Now if you need to match properties, here you can go to home, match properties, and click on any of the match properties. Like if you are using other, you need to repeat that for several things, you can always match properties. For example, if I have this one I created earlier, match properties, I can click on either these ones. So match properties, this and this. Okay, now what you can do is after we change these three, what we need to do is creating dimensions. And actually, the dimensions also, we need to change the oblique and the rotation angles, because if you just use whatever the annotation we did before with the 2D, that will not really work. So I'm gonna go to manage dimension styles, and we'll create two ISO 30 and ISO minus 30, and this is the rotation of that text. And also we do have the standards and the annotative, but I just need to create two dimensional styles to go with them. And you can create it just as a reminder by clicking new. Okay, so as you see, this is standard, new and copy of the standard. Then you give it isometric 30, give it the name that you want it to be. For this isometric 30, I just need to show you the only thing actually that I changed is the text, which is here. I changed the text style that I use in theory. But if you don't need to make different dimension styles, that's fine. You can use the standard, but you still need to make some changes to the rotation and angles. So let's keep that standard at making it easy for now. Keep that standard, and make sure you have a layer for dimension. As always recommend creating layers. Let's put dimensions. So go to dim, annotate. We were gonna use a line for this. Now we will put the dimensions. So I'm gonna pick the endpoint. Object snap is very important. Okay. Now as you see here that the dimension is not really aligned with the view because I just used the standard. So I need to use several things to change it if I don't create other styles. If I have some styles created already, I can use any of them. And I will show you how to use them. But for now, if you are using the standard, let's see what we can do with that to make it better. First thing, you can right click and change the precision if you need the precision to be 0 without decimal points. So here you go. Second, we need to go to the dimensions. Let's pin this. And here we have the oblique. Okay. The oblique will change these dimension lines and make it align with the isometric. So this is the oblique I needed to be there. Um, Always, I prefer for the oblique to use the lines that you are aligning with. And that will make it really easy to figure out since you are aligning this dimension with that line. So you just pick the line and pick the direction of these lines to align together. I'll give you another example. Okay, here you go. And here's the oblique. Pick the dimension, right click or enter or spacebar just to accept that. Now the obliquing angle, you just need to choose two of these lines just to align together. Okay, and as I mentioned before, it's either 30 or minus 30. Now again, if you need to change the precision, you can change that precision. Also, if you need to make any changes from there, you can click on any dimension, Control 1 or right click properties. From there here, you can change any of these properties. Like if you need it to be architectural tech, you can change that. If you need the arrow size to be 0.5, you can make the arrow size bigger. You can scroll down here the text height. If you need it 1, you can make that 1. So you can change several things. Okay, even the text style here, if you need to make, for example, any of the text style that you created before, you can change the text style that you wanna. Text rotation, if you need to make the text rotation 30, so you can change that from there. Okay, remember the properties has all the power to change everything. If you need to make changes to this one, just be sure that you are not selecting two of them at the same time since you're doing a property for one object. Again, I can do that from architectural tech and change the arrow size to 0.5. Scroll down here. Let's get the text height 1. Let's make what else here we need to do? Text rotation. Let's make that 30. Or if you need negative 30, let's see the difference. Okay, and let's make here what else we can change from there. I really encourage you to go and check what you can do uh, with the properties. Like here, you can make it minus 30 or 30, and this is what we created actually from the text. If you need to change the oblique, for the dimension, the oblique only you can change it from annotate text. Okay, so you have to change and create more styles to make sure you change the oblique. The more you practice, the more you feel it is easy. Okay, now I will show you here. So this is one way to edit. Let's unpin this first. Okay, so this is one way to edit using the properties. And as I mentioned before here, I already created some styles. So if I need to make ISO 30 or any other style current, so you can choose that one and make it current. Okay, when you create it and set up the dimensions and everything. So now I have the ISO minus or negative 30. Let's make a line here. Okay, you see it's already with text marks. If I need to change that to tick mark, I have to go to Control 1, change it to tick here, architectural tick. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. So either you change individually by using the properties, or you can set a dimension style, create a new one, so you have it on. Now to change the rotated and change the oblique here, you go to dimension, oblique, change, click on that dimension, enter, then you choose 2 points that you need to align together. Okay, to change that here, you can do text rotation from there. If you need to modify the text rotation or the text angle, so you can click on text angle, select dimension, okay, specify angle. Now I need the angle to be, you can type 90 degrees or just give the direction that you want it to be. So if you want it to be this way, you can just give the direction. If you need to change the oblique, also you can change that. So let's see here, Control 1, if you need to make any changes to the text, you can make it with any other text, as you see here that I created two, ISO 30 and ISO minus 30. And the ISO 30 again from the text style, which I make it here and I give it a name with the oblique. Okay, so this is very powerful to create. Two text styles that go with that. Let's create the last one here for 6 aligned. Then, okay. Now you make this rotation, dimension, rotation, click the dimension, right click to accept, then give any 2 points, that you need it to be aligned with. Now with that, if you need to rotate the text, okay, you can make text angle, select dimension, specify the angle here. Okay, so here you just to specify the angle. If you need to rotate it more, so you can text style, specify the angle. You choose any 2 points that you want to align, and as you see, it will be rotated. Okay, also remember what we can do with the match properties. Okay, so if you have one dimension, you can use match properties and you can rotate. Okay, So in this exercise, we've learned how to create 2D isometric, how to change the oblique and text rotation, how to add dimension, how to change the oblique, how to create text styles using the annotate and text styles. I created 2 of them, each one by creating a new, then you can change the oblique. Also, you can change the height, you can change the font name, the font style that you want it. Also, we created 2 styles by clicking on this little arrow, and here you can click new, and you always can give it a name. Then you modify the text style that you wanted. You can choose the symbols, architectural tick, or just the symbol that you want. Also, you can change the text height and change the text styles that you need to create before using the text styles there. Now you can change here. Also, what we've learned today, how to modify using the properties. So remember that by clicking on any dimension or any text, you can right click, choose the properties, or control 1. Either way, you can open that and you can always modify. Another thing that we learned, that you can right click, change the dimension style, change the precision for every object, for every element in the drawing. If you need to put radius here or diameter, actually you cannot use we cannot use radius or the diameter with the 2D isometric. So what we can do is use the multi-leader. Okay, so because it's not actually a circle, it's isocircle. So you have to put multi-leader, and then you put radius 5. So you type it. Okay, and you can change the same thing here. You can get to the properties and change the text. And here, if you need it to be 1, so you can change the text height using the radius. Okay, if you need to put diameter, you can put the same way by adding the diameter. Multi-leader, you choose the circle that you wanna, then you put there. To put the diameter symbol, you can type %C, and then you get the diameter, which is 6. So %C, then 6, enter. Okay, and here also you can change that either from text style or by changing the text height to the number that you want. Okay, so you can change modify the text style to apply the text style that you created, or from the properties and add. So remember that radius and diameter with the isometric drawings will not work the same way with dimensions. So you have to create multi-leaders. You put R, you type it, and then for the diameter, you can either insert symbols. If you need to get some symbols, you can find that, or you just put %C for the diameter symbol. Okay, I hope that will be useful for the isometric. Please check the description for this video to practice more about isometric. Thank you for watching, and see you in more videos.